Hello and welcome to another version of the Business Renovator. I'm your host, Coach Phil. Today is a special day in the United States. My friends and colleagues, I'm thinking of you as you celebrate the fallen and those serving for your country and those around the world that gave us the opportunity to do things like this today, the freedom to choose. So without further ado, what I want to do is go to my sponsor, which is Focal Point. Welcome back. I am one of several hundred focal point coaches around the globe. I reside in Canada, Western Canada, actually in Calgary, Alberta. If you don't know where that is, in 1988, we had the Winter Olympics, and to the west of us is a lovely little place called Banff in the Rocky Mountains. The Rocky Mountains go all the way down in through to Colorado. I would like to now, let's bring on Brian Monahan's book. It's a book that I have been reading and sharing for well over a year now. And the quote I want to talk about today is by Zig Ziglar. And it's not the one he's most famous for. If you help enough people get what they want, you'll get everything you want. That's my version of it, paraphrase. But the quote I wanted to talk about today is to respond is positive, to react is negative. Zig Ziglar. Brian Monahan, the author and curator of this book, says that on paper, responding and reacting seem to be almost the same thing. An experience or a circumstance occurs and it creates another circumstance. He finds the difference between a response and a reaction is that the reaction is automated while a response is pondered. To create a response-centric customer experience, we must create space for ourselves and our employees. If we're always at capacity emotionally as customer service professionals or sales professionals, then we have no room to ponder the circumstances we must address. A response-centric company creates emotional room for challenges. The room is where the mind and body and spirit can meet the customer in the moment. Save room for your delight. And I picked this one today because I want to talk about the 90-day flight plan. And the 90-day flight plan kind of rolls into this sort of thing. So in the title of this, I asked if you would like to get more from the body of this promotional piece. I asked if you would like to get more done in a shorter period of time and increase your energy at the same time. So a whole bunch of years ago, I was introduced to a concept called the 100-day action plan. And what I found when the company I was working with and the wonderful women that mentored us in this process was that by having a plan created in this sort of fashion, you can get a lot more done. Do you get it all done? Absolutely not. At least I haven't yet. Maybe some people do. I shouldn't say absolutely not. Maybe you could. You could create a new paradigm. But in my case, I have not been able to get everything done. But what I found is I can get a lot more done than I can any other way. So I changed it from the 100-day success plan to a 90-day flight plan. Now, just think about the last trip you've taken. Might have been a while, but think about any trip that you've taken, whether it's on an airplane, by train, by boat, by car, what doesn't really matter. There's always a starting point and there's always an end point and there's always the things in between. And it's the things in between that get in the way. And often we overthink it or don't think enough about it. Thinking has a lot to do with it. Just sometimes it doesn't support us. So just imagine this. It's December 31st, 20XX, say 2021, and you wanted to create a plan for the 2021 year, but now you're looking back. Looking back at all the things that you've possibly done, all the things you'd like to do, all the people you'd like to meet, all the books you'd like to read, all the podcasts you'd like to have gone through, the amount of money you'd like to earn, the job you would like to create, just anything and everything you would love to do. Write it down. Be open-minded. Be like a parachute when it works best. When you're jumping out of the plane, it's open. For the sake of this exercise, what you would like to do is actually just imagine it at the end of the year. Let's say it's the end of 2021 and you want to plan for 2022. And you don't have to wait to the end of the year, but for my story, it makes sense to do that. But once you've got the premises of this, then you'll be able to start at any point in time. So you and I've met, and I've given you this magic button. It's called a pause button. So it's, 15 seconds or so before the clock for the new year pops on, and the bells are going to ring, and the fireworks are going to go off, and all that wonderful, great stuff. So you pause it just 15 seconds prior to, and nobody in your family, nobody you know is hurt or harmed in this exercise. Just imagine they're all three-dimensionally standing in a pause look. And you get to walk back through everything, well, maybe fly through everything because it is a year, and you get to go back and see everything that you've done, everybody you've met, and all the places you've been, and the books you've read, and the podcasts you listened to. Bring that to life. Write it down. Everything that you've done. Take time out. Write a chapter of your ideal life at that point in time. So what is it you're going to have accomplished in 2022? So now that you've got that all down on paper with lots of emotion, as clear as you can possibly get, then push the pause button so you can let everybody go back into the normal way of life. I know I don't really have a pause button. It's just an exercise to go through. But thinking about that, what happened for you? Did you get excited? Did you get anxious? What ended up happening for you? If you got excited, that's a good thing. So now that you've got this ideal life for the next year completed on paper, what's next? Well, this is where we start creating a 90-day flight plan. And in the 90-day flight plan, what I'm going to get you to do is to look at all those things that you wanted to do, be, and have in that period of time, and look at what do you need to do in the first quarter in order to get to that ideal life that you've just described you wanted to have. You wrote it out, right? Okay, so now that you've done that, take the first 90 days, look at what you need to do, and plunk them on the 90-day list, the first quarter list. And again, this doesn't have to wait until the end of the year. You can start this right now. It doesn't even have to start at the beginning of a month. Although we're at the end of a month here, this is an ideal time to stop and reassess. But it doesn't have to be the calendar 90 days. It's your 90 days. That's all that matters. So what do you want to get done in the next 90 days? Now that you've broken it down into the things that you feel you want to get done in the first 90-day period, your 90-day flight plan, now look at that list that now that you've chunked it down into smaller bite-sized pieces, and look at from that list beside each one of the items, put a 1, 2, or 3. So 1 represents the first 30 days. 2 is the second 30 days, and obviously 3 is the next 30 days. So now you've got a total of 90 days. So in the first 30 days, now that you've created that list and compiled that, what needs to get done in the first week on that first month out of the first quarter? That's a lot of firsts, right? Anyway, it sounds harder than what it is. Once you've gone through this once and put pen to paper, it makes a lot of sense. So now that you've got the first month done, looking at the first week, what are the activities, things you need to do, the people you need to call, the books you need to read, the podcasts you want to watch, all of those sort of things, write them down. Okay, we're going to get more granular. Now, what needs to happen on the very first day of that first week? Because you've got a list of the things you want to get done in that week. Now, what do you need to do on the very first day? So let's say it's a Monday, and what do you need to do on Monday in order for you to be able to go back to when you push the pause button and look at what it was that you wanted to accomplish and achieve and do. And modern technology allows you ways to put this content and information into a device. So if that's what you want to do, if you've got a planning tool that can manage these increments of days, weeks, months, quarters, then use that. If you don't, maybe you want to do it in a written form. The other thing you can start doing is, what are some of the big picture images that you would have in your mind that if you had a picture of them on a bulletin board or a vision board or in a vision book that you can flip through. It could be digital, doesn't have to be printed. You can go to Google, extract, find information and pictures that support what you're trying to do, where you want to grow into, and put them into, say, a PowerPoint or into some other movie making device that you have, and watch the movie and listen to it as you're preparing for the day. Because the idea is that you would to put thought and energy into reviewing what it is you want to get done, because that turns on the creative juices. Matter of fact, one of the things that one of my mentors shared with me is, if we know what we want and why we want it, hence the 90-day action plan, 90-day flight plan, pardon me, it creates pictures and images of the outcomes that we want to experience, the places we want to go, the people we want to meet. So if you know what you want and why you want it, and stifle the how, unless of course the how moves you towards the end result you're looking for, then move on it that way. But if it doesn't take you there, then stifle it and think about what it is you want to do. And you'll get inspired thoughts and intuitive thoughts. Your creative subconscious will kick in and give you ideas. Act on those ideas right away. Don't put them off. If you put them off, you might be disappointed. It might be too late. Somebody else has got the new marriage partner or the job or the whatever it was you're looking for. Act upon the intuitive thoughts that come to you right away. Always be option thinking, looking for opportunities to find solutions to the problem now that you've created, because by creating a flight plan, you've actually created a problem. And that's a good thing, because our brains are wired to solve the problems we have in our space. So if you have a problem, the brain will look for ways to solve it. Now be careful. It's such a powerful thing that it'll actually bring you back to where you are in your comfort zone, in your airport, so to speak, if we're using the 90-day flight plan. You'll never leave the airport, because your isness, your habitual thinking, will keep you where you is. But that's another subject for another day. But just know that habitual thoughts will keep us where we are, keep us stuck. So if you want to get unstuck, this will take concentrated, deliberate effort. And the only discipline you'll need to do is to think about and act upon the items that you've listed on your flight plan. Something else you can do is do a checklist, and that allows you to check in with yourself to see if everything you need is in place, and if not, what pieces are missing, who do you need to call, all those sort of things. And something I learned from Brian Tracy many years ago, and it served me well, is when we do anything like a flight plan or take on something new, start a new career, start a new business, is to don't try and take off with your airplane with one foot on the brake and only half throttle. You'll run out of runway and you'll crash and burn, because you won't have enough lift underneath your wings to get you up. So full throttle when you're doing this, absolute full throttle, flaps all the way out. I believe that's what pilot speak would be, and certainly foot off the brake and full throttle, and go fast and have fun and get the lift underneath your wings so it brings you on up. Because once you get up into the atmosphere, then you can pull back on the throttle, because then you're starting to leverage other people, other experiences, maybe other people's money, other people's knowledge, all sorts of things. But until you get off the ground, it's a challenge. So go full throttle, go all the way, get lift under your wings. Again, be a solution-oriented, problem-solving individual. Be like a heat-seeking missile. Only you're not a missile. You're activated your reticular activating system by doing this process. And as a result of that, your reticular activating system will heighten your awareness around solutions and ideas that could get you to where you want to go sooner and faster than what you ever imagined. Another thing that's important to do is to always be improving. Small incremental improvements on a regular basis as you're going through your flight plan, course corrections, those sort of things will get you there safely and faster and less stressful than any other way that I can think of that I've ever heard of. If you know something, I'd love to hear about it. This is such a powerful process that I would encourage you to give it a go, to write your chapter, break it down into what you need to do in the first 90 days, the first quarter, first month, and then the first week, and then the first day. If you were to take those on, what do you think could happen for you? What could show up in your life? Who could you meet? What could you experience? Well, that, ladies and gentlemen, is really the flight plan in 17 minutes or less. If you liked what this is about, Business Renovator, and you're watching it, great. Share this out with your friends so that they can watch the replay. If they go #replay, that would be great. And if you go to the YouTube channel and subscribe, we'd really appreciate that. If you have a topic or if you have a guest that you think would benefit the people that are out there in the world that could learn from their experience, please do an introduction. We're happy to have guests. Coming up later this week on Friday is a former Wall Street guru. He's going to share his experience in and around what he's done from that time. And I don't want to spill the candy too much, so I'm not going to. Just know that we're going to have the ability to leverage from his experience from being on Wall Street to where he is today, living the life that he chose because he created his own flight plan. Anyway, I'm Coach Phil, and remember to think of yourself as wonderful, and spell wonderful with a U instead of the O, because you are wonderful.